Well, I hope you're all doing really well, doing good. It's a blessing to be back with you again. We enjoy being here every week with you. And definitely make sure that you tell people about us. We've got the Spotify that you can listen to us on. You can listen to us on YouTube. Mm-hmm. There's multiple different ways you can hear us. But anyway, it's good to be back with you. And so today we got an interesting subject that I think we're gonna talk about that I think is important because it's really a cultural subject. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's a cultural subject because it deals with something that honestly, this generation especially deals with, and it deals with all of the different complexities that, honestly, we're going to talk about Gen Z and Gen X and how they cohabitate, how they work, and the things that affect them, the hows and the whys. Again, we won't be able to answer everything, but I think it'll give us a good insight as to what's going on and why there's such a wide, a huge gap between the differences and how they think and everything. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we're going to get into this talk. We know first of all, it will be biblical because we are always going to bring up God's word somewhere in this. It's going to help us understand how to deal with these things, or better yet, how to maybe even overcome.
That's right.
So anyway, I have with me none other than Matthew De Leon. How you doing, Matthew?
Bless, Pastor. How you doing?
Doing good, my brother.
Good.
So we're going to go ahead and get going. And Matthew, what's the first question?
Yeah, Pastor. Actually, it's more information than it is question, Pastor.
Yes.
So we want to define what a Gen X is. They're born between 1965 to 1980.
Yes.
The millennials, Gen Y, are 1981 to 1996. And the Gen Z are 1997 to 2012.
Yes.
And so we're going to talk about the differences in regards to ministry and how their approach to ministry and our age group, our approach to ministry, Pastor. So the very first one is authenticity over reverence.
Yeah.
So Gen Z pastors prioritize being real over being revered. Now, to me, that's a big one when it comes to biblical authority, when it comes to your approach to God and then your approach to man. Mm-hmm. Their approach is, I want to be real, then reverenced.
And this is who over who?
This is Gen Z over our generation.
Gen Z over, yes.
So our approach is revered.
Right.
Our approach is we revere God, and then we revere the position as a pastor. And Gen Z saying, I want to be real. I'm more your friend. Their approach is to be different on that. Yeah. So that's right now, this is the kind of the approach right now in Gen Z versus Gen X.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing I've noticed about people is that we tend to always say one thing but usually mean another. Mm-hmm. How many times do we say, I remember I had somebody in my family and stuff that had said, the one thing that's their pet peeve is true. They hate to be lied to. But a lot of their life was filled with a lot of little half-truths that weren't complete truths. So they lived a little bit of a lie. The one thing you'll find with the Gen Z as opposed to like the Gen X does like, or the Gen X likes reverence.
Yes,
they do. That's why they went to church more.
Yes, they said that. That's one of the stats. The church is more filled during this time period.
Very much so. Mm-hmm. Especially after World War II. People went to church.
Yes.
People realized how blessed they were to still be alive, or that they made it through really one of the greatest calamities of all times, and that was that World War II was outbreaking. Sons and daughters were coming back in caskets.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, it was a terrible time, and people were looking to God as the thing to kind of get things back right again.
Right. Right.
Whereas you take Gen X, where they haven't really been involved in too many things. Gen Y has been involved in even less.
Yeah.
And so they don't understand the complexities of what it means to be reverent in anything, or to revere anything, and how important it is. Because the Gen Xers would tend to give their lives for something. The Gen Yers would tend to preserve their personal life. So in other words, the Gen Zers, it's about me. The Gen Xers, it's about you. And so that's where the gap really widened between the two generations.
And you're saying that because obviously you have experience dealing with Gen Zs.
Very much so.
Over the span of 20, from watching them grow up.
30-something years.
Yeah, watching them grow up, and now they're adults raising their own families.
Yes. And it's a lot of it is out of experience. A lot of it is just simply because I'm a very careful observer. And so I see the difference between my generation, and I will even make this disclaimer. even the Gen Xers are not all completely the same.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of Gen Xers that were born just prior to the hippie movement, which is where moving into that hippie movement, where they were still young enough that they caught a hold of that next generational value. But then you've got the Gen Xers that were born and really. So the Gen Xers are actually born from 1946 to 1964. I'm not sure where this number came from.
Yeah.
That's a wrong number.
Okay.
It's actually 46 to 64.
Okay.
Is the Gen Xers.
Okay.
And the reason I say that, I'm sorry,
Baby boomers.
Yeah, the baby boomers. I'm sorry, no, I got it wrong.
Yeah.
Baby boomers are 46 to 64.
There it is.
Gen Xers are 65.
Yeah, that's what I didn't include on the notes.
So that means that the number is right. There we go. Okay. That's right. I'm thinking
Stay
baby
corrected.
boomers. But the Gen Xers were born right at the tail end of that baby boomer generation where you had people that were very responsible.
Yeah.
And a lot of Gen Xers were still very responsible. But then you move them up into around the 1980, where a lot of them were exposed to that hippie movement. A lot of even the Gen Xers started even moving away from the values that they upheld, you know? And so,
and in this time frame too, in the 80s, you're talking about latchkey kids too during this time. Both parents are
Yes.
starting to work. The
Yes.
war really made I would say a hard financial impact on families where both families started having to work now.
yes.
Well, I'm sorry, both families. Both parents have
Both
to work.
parents are having to work, you know. There was such a huge constraint on the fact that what a man could earn on his own.
Wasn't
it
enough.
would have never been enough. So a woman now has to step outside the four walls.
Yeah.
Like you said, kids having to raise himself. And how did he raise himself in those days? It was video games.
Yeah.
And it was video games because he wasn't allowed to go outside of the house while parents were gone. But then you start moving up into the 90s, then the parents didn't care if they were alone. Just be home by this time.
Yeah.
And then by the time the 2000s, now
Internet.
there's not even two parents in the home. Now it's just one parent, and the kid is having to bounce back and forth between parents. And so things really begin to change. Divorce rates went up. And so what does that mean? Well, ultimately, this idea of authenticity is the reason why these next generations wanted authenticity, because they never seen it.
Oh, so there's a hunger for it.
There's a hunger for it. Mom and dad saying this, they work hard all day and give their best to the boss, but they come home and they don't give their best.
Oh, come on.
They have an attitude, and all of a sudden parents are always upset. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Well, you're never home.
That's good.
You don't spend time with me, and all of a sudden, so these kids, this generation is looking at their parents like, well, you're not really authentic. You're not being real with me. And it's like the parents are like, it's not that they're not being real. It's just that what's happening is that they're frustrated.
Right.
And they don't know how to deal with life.
Right, and we see that right now with behavior for a lack of respect for adults and people in general, for life, ownership of cars, values, things that there's a lack of respect for, and across the board, unfortunately. But they're very honest about it. They're very transparent about it. But is that enough?
And it's not, and that's why the Gen Xers believed in reverence, and the next generation believed in authenticity, because that's why there was such a clash.
Yeah.
Because it's like, look, I'm your parent. You should respect me. I put food on the table. You should be happy. You see, that's reverence. So they expected the reverence, but they didn't show it. So that next generation was like, yeah, but you're not being authentic, and you're not being. Nobody else sees the real you. I see the real you. You're being fake out here, but the real you is at home, where you're being mean and blah blah blah. And so what's happening is there's this clash of character and values.
Yeah.
And kids are being angry and frustrated, and now we see it more than ever.
Yeah, I can see the cry for authenticity as a result of that.
Yeah.
The next one, Pastor, is relational ministry. Instead of preaching at people, Gen Z pastors want to talk with them.
So what's happened is that you have to talk with them to some level, because they don't understand the complexities of emergency. Let me give you an example.
Yeah, I like that already.
Today, there's something bad happening. You tell a Gen Zer today, look, the house is on fire. They don't have a clue how to respond.
Right.
They don't know what to do.
Right.
And their first instinct isn't to put it out. Their
Right.
first instinct is maybe to run or to just watch. Their first instinct of the Gen Xers is like, Gen Xers
Right.
and even baby boomers,
fire extinguisher, find something.
Find water, find something,
Yeah.
put it out. We don't run from a problem, we run into problems. The Gen Xers or the Gen Zers and Gen Ys tend to run away from problems.
I'm gonna tell you right now, you got me thinking, because we had a fire extinguisher back growing up. I mean, we were prepared for those incidences.
We were.
Gen Zs they're unfortunately they're not prepared for those things.
Right. They're not prepared. So emergency is something
point.
that they don't understand.
To your point.
That's exactly it. You put them in bad situations and they freak out. They almost get angry because there's a frustration of not knowing what to do. It's like let me give you an example. In our day, even when I was a teenager, if my truck or my vehicle went out and I've had to pull over on the side of the road, what's the first thing we do? We go find a screwdriver and try to figure out how to fix it.
Exactly.
Right?
You're right.
We may not know what to do, but we're going to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have cell phones.
Exactly.
You have to.
Yeah.
Or you hope that somebody stops.
Exactly.
Today's generation, if they don't have a phone when their car breaks down, they're going to die. I mean, not physically necessarily, but they'd be like mentally. It's like they don't know what to do. They start freaking out because we don't have an answer because we don't have a solution. And if you don't have a solution, you run from emergencies. And so baby boomers to Gen Xers were equipped for emergency.
Yeah.
Gen Yers and Gen Zers are not equipped for emergencies. And so the way they run into it or the way they run away from it is completely different.
Right. So their approach to a sermon is different. We're more traditional. We have A through Z, and they're going to just share their heart with you.
And this is exactly why. Yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of got off, but that was the feed into that point. Was that's what happens. This is why a lot of ministers have to talk with them, because if they share with them the expedience of the Scripture and why you need to go right now, you're flipping them out. This is why a lot of the young people that I minister to, they totally understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But because they've never experienced it, they don't understand what I'm saying.
Also, too, your approach to ministry, at times you can be aggressive. You can be comical, too. Let's be fair. You have a different presentation throughout your one message, right?
Right.
But for the most part, it's gonna be aggressive.
Yes.
That approach is gonna be aggressive.
Very much.
That's who Pastor Paul is.
That's just who I am. And so what happens is that a younger generation doesn't appreciate it because we always look at it as everything is we got to fix a problem. We grew up, everything was a fix.
Just fix it.
And so we have a different scope and a different lens to look through. This generation is like, not everything is a problem. Well, I'm not saying everything is a problem either.
Right.
I'm just saying but even the best things in life come with breaking. They eventually break. Everything in life breaks.
Right.
So I'm preparing you to fix it, but they don't hear it that way. They hear it as it's broke. No, I didn't say it was broke. I just said, but when it comes, here's the fix.
Or I've heard it before from my own kids. Critical. You're being critical, Dad. You're being judgmental, Dad. I mean, those are the terms that they want to impose on us for seeing a future problem, a potential pitfall, if you will.
Yes.
And we're like, sweetheart, do you realize if you continue going at that trajectory, this is going to happen. This is the outcome.
Right. So we grew up in an era where we're going to tell you all the wonderful things that can come from marriage. But here's also the flip side of the coin, too, that you got to be aware of.
Yeah.
Because it's coming, too.
Well, it's biblical, Pastor.
biblical.
You said it even throughout the Old Testament. Promises are conditional.
That's right.
They always start with if.
If. The Lord dealt with more issues, but he also told you the blessings that come when you do fix them. Or vice versa. Here's the blessings as long as it's not broke. But when it does come, here's what you do. That's why he gave him the law. Remember, most of those problems never happened in a person's life. But the law was there just in case it did. In case it did break, here's what you do. And so that's why I say this generation doesn't understand. We just want to hear the good stuff. We don't want to hear the problems because you are being critical. No, we're not. We've just been experienced enough that when something happens, we know what to do there.
Yeah.
That's why we don't flip in emergencies.
Exactly. And what you're saying, too, is we'll celebrate with you.
That's right.
Let's enjoy it. But watch your P's and Q's.
Look, this is the honest truth. I counsel the majority of the people that I've counseled for marriage and most other problems do not go to our church.
Actually, that's me too.
Okay.
That's me too. I get phone calls, people who don't come to our church.
All the time.
Yeah.
I get phone calls. And I think, why? but I know what kind of church they go to. It's the kind of church that constantly reinforces how good God is, but never how bad Satan can be.
Never addresses the real issue, right?
Never addresses the things that Satan's coming at them with, and they can't figure out how to fix it. And their pastors preach the good messages. They're there for counseling.
Yeah.
But obviously, they don't trust their counseling enough that they would come to me and you.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Exactly.
Because me and you actually know how to fix it.
Yeah. And they see our lives. Mm-hmm. They see it like, wait a second, it's
evident.
It's evident.
It's
and it
evident.
Works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why I said it's unfortunate. So when you tell this generation how to work through and navigate through the situations of life, they take it as if you're pointing the finger at them. I'm not.
No.
I'm pointing the finger at the problem, and you will come across it. Here's how to deal with it when you get there. And it's unfortunate because what happens is this young generation, they're falling apart. We can't trust them to be our politicians. We can't trust them to be owners of businesses. We can't trust them to run a family and be married because they have no clue how to take the screwdriver and fix a simple problem.
Pastor, how important are fathers?
Well,
when you say that,
well, no,
you say that. That's stand out to me.
That's honestly that's the heart of the issue. The foundation of everything that determines where we are is based on what kind of good father you had. Was he good or was he bad?
Yeah.
Was he mediocre? Then
Right.
you're going to be mediocre.
And to me, this is why the prophecy of Malachi chapter 4 is so pivotal, especially in this generation, Pastor. Fathers need to rise up because these kids, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not opposed to relational ministry. I'm not opposed to conversing, but the majority of it's going to be still a sermon at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We got to preach truth at the end of the day.
No, it's true. And you know, like for instance, as a father to my kids, there are some things I've been teaching them since they were little. There are some things I won't teach them until it's the right time.
Yeah.
And what's the difference? Well, the difference is that the things that they need to know from their time they're little are the things they're going to deal with all the time. But some things we don't give them insight into because we don't need you concentrating on things that could hurt you because Satan can pull you away from things,
Right.
and it's really not even a part of your life yet. For
Right.
one, marriage. There's a lot of things I've taught to my kids about marriage. There's some things I haven't taught them yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
I won't teach them until
They are married.
Well, I'll teach them when that right person comes.
Right. There it
To get them,
is.
like what
Yes.
you've done with
Yes.
some of the
with my girls.
sons-in-laws and your
Yes.
girls, right?
Yes, sir.
You spent
Yes.
time when all of a sudden it was the right time. Okay, here's what I'm going to teach you, son.
you're right.
Right?
You're right.
Now it's time to get with you, and me and you need to meet because
100%.
this is huge over here, what
100%.
you're about to do with my daughter. And that's why I said that's the only time that it's the right time.
And to help them, Pastor, with their future spouse,
Yes.
if they're not ready for my advice, they're not ready for my daughter.
Well, there you go. There you go. And little did they know that they didn't know it all until they were taught at that time.
Yes, sir.
And that's why I say we could have taught them earlier. They could have learned it
That's
earlier.
good stuff. That's good.
But the problem is that it'll be forgotten because of the fact that it's not important at that moment.
Yes.
So that's why I say I would never teach a supervisor how to supervise
Right.
until he becomes the supervisor.
Supervisor.
He may have been working for that job for 10 years,
Right.
but then all of a sudden we see qualities.
Right.
He's still not supervisor quality yet.
Right.
He has the qualities to be a supervisor.
The potential, right.
He has the potential. So when we see that in him, we're going to say, hey, we want you to be supervisor. If he accepts the job, what do? We put him through training now. We only train him as needed, teach them as needed. And that's why I said there are some things
That's
as a
good.
father, there's so many young
Yeah.
people, they don't have a father to teach them at certain intersections of life.
Right.
When it's necessary and important. And that's what the Lord does with us.
No, you're 100% right. This is the unfortunate thing when children are raising themselves, no one's there to help them say no, yes, incorrect, correct.
There you go. Think about all the things when you really sit down and think about how the Lord does with us. How many things can you say this past year that God has spoke to you specifically? And you're like,
Yeah,
man, that was a
100%.
real revelation to me.
100%.
Whether it be fixing yourself or fixing a problem, you're like, I just never thought of that.
He fathers.
He fathers. It was the right time to teach you and to tell you. Why didn't he teach you when you were a 5-year-old?
Yeah. Because you're not ready.
Because you weren't ready.
Yeah.
And it wasn't time.
Pastor, you've said to us, me and Pastor Cindy, for years, we would go for lunch during staff meetings or after staff meetings, Pastor. You talk about it's the right question that gives you the right answer.
That's it.
And so when you talk about that, when going before the Lord's like, oh, you're ready because you're asking the right question.
That's it. It's the right. Too many times we spend so much time asking the things that really God can't answer the way you're asking because of what you're asking. We have to be clear. We have to be specific. And a lot of times we're so broad and general in our conversations with God that God's like, is that what you... And you say, well, yeah, but God already knows the heart. No, he does. Sometimes we can say it within our heart better than we can say it with our mouth. But sometimes it's still... The only reason it doesn't come out right is because it's still conflicted in our hearts.
That's right.
So sometimes it's better to wait until we can say, Lord, I know what it is that I really want inside.
Yeah.
Now I can share it with you.
And you're right, because sometimes that's not even the real issue. It's unforgiveness.
Yeah, exactly.
It's anger.
It's anger. It's
It
something
could be
else.
It could be something else.
And so this is what we
good.
see with a lot of the Gen Xers and the disparity between the Gen Xers to the Gen Zers and Gen Yers, or so to speak, is that there's huge cultural gaps between them.
Yes.
Because what's happening is when you got to the Gen Yers, now you still had a lot of families that were together.
Yeah.
But when the kid becomes that latchkey kid, like the Gen Xers started the Gen Yers were definitely in that category. Well, what happens is that who's raising them? The TV, the video game, being alone on the phone all day with the girlfriend that the mom and dad don't know about, but they have to stay home, right?
No,
they can't go out till mom and dad gets home.
You're right.
So,
Was there anything that you want to add to that?
well, and the reason I say that is because what happens is that they are raising themselves.
And I wanted to add that too, Pastor, because the Gen X's, we had, like you said, Atari, right?
Yeah.
Very innocent. The Gen Ys, they had other better advanced video games. The Gen Zs had the internet.
Yeah. That's why I say that technology progressed, and so did the lack of loneliness, but the lack of teaching from the parents became the teaching of the world.
Yeah,
because they were seeing it on the internet now.
That's it.
And so this huge disparity between the has and has-nots and the haves and have-nots, so to speak, what happens is that you have these young people. And so this is why I believe that the passage in 2 Corinthians is so important for this generation.
Yeah.
Where Paul was talking to Timothy, because Timothy was a young man in charge of one of the largest churches in all of Asia Minor.
Yeah.
The Church of Ephesus.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was in charge of probably the largest congregation of all of his people that were under him. And it was probably the youngest of everybody that was under him, but also held the most power. Was probably had the greatest authority of all the ministers that he had, and that was Timothy. And so he said something to Timothy. He said in chapter 2, 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 21 through 23. He said this. He said, verse 21, therefore, if anyone cleanses himself from the latter, he will be a vessel for honor, sanctified and useful for the master, prepared for every good work. And so again, we're talking about what's happened is this generation is not cleansed. This generation is not useful to the master. And who's the master? The Lord.
Yeah.
They're not useful, and the reason is because they're uncleansed. They're not putting in the proper kind of work for the right thing.
Right.
They're not looking for the right answers for the questions that they need solutions for. And then he says on here in verse 22, he says, so therefore flee also youthful lusts, but pursue righteousness, faith, love, peace, and those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart.
Right.
This is why the hearts of this generation are not pure, because they don't flee those youthful lusts. They're okay. They have internet.
No, you're right. They gravitate to it.
They gravitate to it because that's what they're learning from. And so what we see is we have a generation that doesn't avoid. So watch what happens when they don't do this, when they don't live righteously and out of a pure heart, and they don't flee those youthful lusts. 23 tells us, but avoid foolish and ignorant disputes, knowing that they generate strife. Okay, when you don't avoid, when you aren't righteous, when you don't walk in faith and love, when you don't call out to the Lord with a pure heart, here's what happens. You live foolishly. You are ignorant, and you do enter into ignorant disputes, and you do generate strife.
I have a definition for that strife, by the way.
Yes.
That it means disagreement and violence.
And we see that with this generation more than ever. They're the most violent generation we've ever seen. We have young people out on school campuses, on schools of higher education, protesting. But they're not just protesting. They're violent. You can go watch it anywhere.
They're mean.
They're mean. They're violent. Number two, we're seeing it in everything too. So I just watched I don't know if they're a YouTuber, but they're a social media. I don't know how well known they are. I've never heard of them.
Yeah.
But you know that we just recently have, well, they're still going on right now is this moment.
Yeah.
But Texas is being massively flooded right now.
Yes. Yes.
There was one camp called Mystic Camp.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a Christian camp. Several kids of Caucasian color, white, have died.
Wow.
And several adults. They've now, I think they're right now over 40 people that
Yeah.
they know have died.
Yeah.
That doesn't include the number of people that are missing.
Missing.
Well, there's now some black people out there. I say black people. Okay, man, I don't want to black people like it's the whole thing. It's a couple of them I've heard. They're out there on their TikToks and social media saying that they deserve it. You know, this is what happens
Are
when
you
you're
kidding me?
against
Trump.
this and that.
Yeah.
You notice that there's no Hispanics or black people at the camp. It's like, okay, first of all, there's a lot of reasons why they're not there. They're making it sound as if people are trying to keep the blacks and the browns out, and that's not true. It just happens to be in a community where there was no blacks or Hispanic people, as all. But most of all, it's still innocent children. Forget about color. It's innocent children that God created.
Oh my gosh.
That was not God's intention that anybody would die.
It's a tragedy. What are
It's
you
a
doing?
tragedy, and they're totally exploiting it as if this is the problem with white people.
Yeah.
It's like, look, it's not a problem with race or color whatsoever. This was called a natural occurrence
Yeah.
because of bad weather. Nobody deserves to die, period. Period.
Yes.
And so we have these kind of anger issues within communities, within cultures, within colors, within certain sections of society, and everybody's angry, and it's all here. They're not fleeing those youthful lusts. They're not pursuing righteousness. They're not pursuing faith and love, and they're not doing it with calling on God with a pure heart. So here's what's happening. They're acting foolish. Ignorant disputes. In other words, stupidity. And they're generating strife. And what did you say was the definition?
Disagreement and violence.
There we go.
In violence.
And these are people that are actually calling for more violence. So if you don't actually physically do the violence, you're actually calling on people to do it. And it's happening even with politicians are calling on violence. So my point being is that this is the difference between the Gen Xers of the early times and from 1965 to the Gen Zers today up to now and the millennials, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, what happened? I'll tell you what happened. It starts still in the home first. A fatherless generation. Ultimately, you can put that across the board. That's something that sweeps across all generations.
Right.
Everything from boomers to Xers to Ys, millennials, and Gen Zers is fatherlessness. Has a lot to do with how that all works out.
Exactly. Well, we're out of time, Pastor.
We're out of time.
Can you believe that?
Man.
Is there anything that you want to add to the Gen Zers out there who are listening and feeling like, I want help. I want to fix a few things here.
Yeah, I do. I want to just simply say this. Get rid of those mentalities that maybe make sense to your mind. Because we've all lived there. I've had things that in my head that they made sense to me. Somebody told it to me, makes sense. I've heard it, makes sense. I've read it, it makes sense. But when I put it in line with God's word, I found out that doesn't always make sense. And so I had to change my thinking to adjust to God's truth, not my version of truth or somebody else's version. The reason I say that is because what it'll do is it'll develop, you'll realize I need to walk away from those youthful lusts. What are those youthful lusts? To be angry, to put strife into the communities, into their culture, to be foolish with my life, to be ignorant and stupid in my disputes and argue about everything and be unforgiving and be hateful and mean. Better yet, separate yourself from God. Get yourself back in line with the heart of God and walk righteously in faith, in love, and most of all, at peace, knowing this, that you're loving the Lord with a pure heart. Purity doesn't want to hurt others. Purity wants to bless God. And so avoid these things and trust the Lord that no matter what you're hearing with our politicians, in the media, wherever, even friends that don't know the truth, Be careful what you listen to and make sure that it's grounded first in truth. And what it'll do is it'll change your perspective on how you see people in life, because all of God's people are a part of his creation.
Right.
And if he loves them, so should you.
Yes.
You don't have a right to hate anybody, no matter what color we are, no matter what we think about something. We have to hold to God's truth, because the very body of the very foundation of everything that he's created is that we know that it's in his hands. And if it's in his hands, don't you ever mock what he's created.
Yes.
Because you will have to answer for that. Get your heart right. And most of all, don't allow cultures and generations to separate us. We should all love each other.
That's it.
No matter how far we are in age,
I love that.
no matter how far we are in color, no matter how far we are in culture, no matter how far we are separated by oceans, don't ever let us be separated by the love of God.
Yes.
And trust me, God will bless you.
Yes.
Anyway, it was great to have you with us today. Like and share. Be sure to get this out into the world. They need to hear little things like this. We don't talk for very long, but I'll tell you what, it sure is good to hear these things. Number 2, go check out ablacademy.org. It's our biblical study school. And then also go check us out. I've just started doing something creative, having fun with it.
Yeah.
Most of all, it's God honoring though.
Yeah.
I promise you. It's a genre of multiple different types of music that I've been putting together. I've been writing and
I love
having
it.
fun.
It's good stuff.
Matthew's got to hear it, so if he
it.
says it's good, I know it's good. He knows good
Stamp of
music.
approval.
It's got the daily on stamp. But anyway, go listen. It's called Creative Christian Collections. Creative Christian Collections. And you can go on YouTube and find that and subscribe and listen to some of the music. There's only a couple on there, but I will start building them weekly, building up new music that I've been creating. And anyway, we love you much. And most of all, serve the Lord and have a blessed week.
Amen. God bless.
Thank you to all our incredible supporters for your generous contributions. This episode of Power Talk Podcast is proudly brought to you by Paul Chicotto Ministries. At Paul Chicotto Ministries, we are passionate about making a global impact. We support a variety of ministries around the world, including Teen Challenge, Harvest Now Ministries, and the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. If you're seeking biblical and spiritual growth, ABLA provides an enriched learning environment tailored to meet students' educational needs. Visit our website at ablacademy.org for more information. If you feel led to give and join us in this mission, please visit paulchicottoministries.com. Thank you for being a part of our community, and we'll see you next week.